right, welcome back to the Liberty Bell. I don't remember our old intro.
Welcome back is an understatement.
Yeah.
It has been a minute.
I don't remember what our old intro is, but that's okay because this is Liberty Bell 2.0, and we're going to have a new intro. So the new intro is just where I say, hey, Josh.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good, man. How's it going?
It's going great, man. How you doing?
You know, I wish we had our old intro pulled up.
Well, it's something about, we're trying to do what's right. And we're still trying to do what's right.
The last episode we recorded and posted on the Liberty Bell, which has 2 5-star ratings
Nice.
on Apple
Nice.
Podcasts.
I like that.
Maybe that was our wives. Was August the 19th, 2020. And it was the
Really?
the Liberty Bell Reborn and Transformation with Tozer.
That was in August.
I shared The Pursuit of God, that book with you.
Right,
And
right.
we talked about that. And August the 3rd, 2020, Jesus isn't a social justice puppet.
Yeah.
We can really get back into some stuff.
Okay, so I didn't realize we hadn't. I didn't realize we hadn't made an episode since August. That's quite a
August the
long
19th, 2020.
So just for context, okay, so that was before the election.
Yes.
That was, just that right there is like a whole deal.
Yeah.
So, and also, some of you may know that Josh and I used to work together, and we were working together at the time we made that last episode.
Yes.
We no longer work together, and so we haven't actually seen each other.
Should we give some context?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time? So I guess I left that place of employment in October.
Yep.
So basically, and
That was me
before
hanging.
the election.
Left me hanging.
I left you all alone in that place.
But you're happy. Life's going good for you.
Oh yeah, I'm way better now.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
So we haven't even really talked since then.
right. So we're still just catching up.
Yeah. My wife had a baby in September.
Right.
We literally have just been, you told me I would be nonstop, and that's been so true. I've been absolutely nonstop for months.
Yeah.
Like we've texted about making an episode around the election. We've texted first of the year making an episode, and then it's like, here we are, which is kind of first of the year.
I'd forgotten that our
end of
last
February.
episode was prior to your son being born. Okay.
Yeah. So my life has been insane.
Right.
Love doing the podcast, but I think James and I both have had some spiritual awakening in our lives. And here I'm a pastor, and the Liberty Bell was a way for me to get some of my social frustrations out, some of my political frustrations out. And then now I realize that I was taking things out, and not that we did anything wrong. I just feel like that you and I both have had some serious spiritual transformation over the past months.
Yeah, what happened with me was, so my response to the election was basically, I was in it to win it when it was all going down.
Yeah.
For sure. I was still all about it, but once Inauguration Day came, my response to it was basically like, for me, it's like kind of the end of politics. It's like, well, I felt like the Trump administration was kind of an opportunity to do something that was unable to succeed, basically. So we've reverted back to just an entrenched descent into socialist policies, and that has an inertia behind it that is pretty staggering.
Yeah.
So my kind of response to Inauguration Day was like, I'm just going to unplug. I can't be chasing the news cycle 24/7 like a junkie. I can't be pegging my identity to it. I kind of felt like, when Trump was in there was kind of like this war on, right? Mm-hmm. But as soon as Biden was inaugurated, to me, it kind of felt like, okay, the army is disbanded. We all got to go home,
Well, they don't have anybody left at the top to hate and point the finger at.
Yeah.
So the cycle's not the same, the news cycle. So for me, that really changed. I don't know that, I felt like that the opportunity that was there is gone. Mm-hmm. I feel like that I'm still hanging on as a Republican. But I feel like the Republican Party is going to split, and I feel like the Democrat Party is going to split. and the old school Democrat's going to die, and the new socialist is going to take over. And so what that kind of rolls into for me is, and that's without looking at. I mean, when did we talk last? I came over here to your house a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I haven't looked at the news since then. Like, I'm just like trying. I'm staying away from it spiritually. I'm trying to just stay focused.
Yeah.
Lead my church. Do what I need to do. And so without that, like, I think that's where I want to go with this podcast, is like not completely 100% news cycle driven.
Yeah.
But I still have my views and beliefs.
Sure.
Like, still talk about that. But I'm not responding to a political event. I'm just being who I am. And I think that comes from me watching my grandfather over the years, who, very strong conservative Republican, but he didn't watch the news 24/7.
Well, nobody did.
But he
back then,
right. But he was so. But he could like, you could say something and just in an instant he could give you something. I mean, he'd give you a gold nugget, and I'm like, well, you don't watch the news constantly. No, he thought for himself.
Well, see, this is a big thing that happened with me because after Inauguration Day and I decided to unplug, I really felt that, the internet and smartphones and social media and all this stuff, because we're like so involved in it and plugged into it like 24/7.
Yeah.
I really started to feel like that it's like destroyed my ability to think.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of happened on a mass scale.
Which is part of what we want to talk about.
Yeah, like it's become hard to have any space at all where you're actually using your brain during the day.
Right.
A friend of mine pointed this out. He was saying how he hates it when somebody, if he's having a conversation with somebody and a question comes up, if somebody Googles the answer. Because he's like, no, if I ask you what you think, I don't want to know what the real answer is. I want to know what you think. You know, like I want to know how your mind is operating, And I realized, like, my brain doesn't even think properly anymore.
Right.
So I got rid of the smartphone.
Yeah.
That was like the big thing. I got rid of the smartphone, and I tell you what, man, I went through a little withdrawal from it, for sure.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, I feel so much better. I feel like my mind is coming back to me, because I have a lot of time during the day where I have to just think,
Right.
There's nothing I can grab to just fill that attention space.
Yeah.
It's just me and my brain. So yeah, and I don't know what's going on in the news because, like I said, with no smartphone, it's hard to, if I want to know what's going on, I have to like go get on my computer, and I don't want to do that.
It's so 1999 of you.
It's so 90s. I don't even turn the Wi-Fi on anymore. I have like Wi-Fi hours at the house now in the evening. It's like that's when we do our internet stuff. No, but first thing in the morning, you can't just get online and do whatever,
Right.
And that way, it's like that's how life's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be preoccupied in this other world. You're supposed to be like in your home with your family, doing things around your house, focusing on your immediate environment. So that's what I've been trying to do.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know that the smartphone's something I probably need to get away from, but that's one that I haven't got to that point yet. But I really admire you for doing that. You probably paid as much for your flip phone as you did smartphone.
Yeah, I did.
But it's ridiculous. You can't go back without it costing you. But I think one area my wife's probably she might get there is 5G, which she could probably come on and tell us why. But
okay,
yeah,
all right.
she's anti 5G.
Okay, maybe she can explain it.
But I think that right there is a great segue into our conversation about the thought today that I've had over the past week or two, and that's been like new beginnings, like specifically springtime.
Yeah.
And how excited we had, 55-degree weather here. We don't tell where we live on this show, but people know the mountains of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I think that's enough said. Like, I don't think people will come way up into the mountains trying to mess with us because generally that people avoid that. But anyway, so people know we live in the mountains of North Carolina, and we've had more of a winter like I grew up with, where have more snow.
Yeah, this winter's been
it's
much
actually
more
winter,
intense.
and I love that. I love the snow. I love the ice. I love the cold. I just like it being winter. Like I want to feel like I'm surviving something.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, certain other areas of the country have experienced that for fivefold.
Yeah.
But for us, it's been more of a winter. And I think what's nice about having that true mountain winter is like when you start seeing that sun come up and it feels warm. You feel that warmth of the sun. You feel the cold kind of getting away. You start to hear the birds. You start to see the growth. Like that just feels great for me. And like I told you before we started recording earlier today, I was talking about how that time outside is when I can really think. I can really process things. And because, you worked where I work, what that day is. That day is not Googling stuff, but looking for answers somewhere else, getting answers from somebody else, like not thinking for yourself.
Right.
And so for me, that's done in springtime and fishing. And I'm so excited for that. But, getting out and gardening and getting out working on the land and just, doing things. And I think we'll probably wrap up with some conversation about, that a little bit. But, as far as working on the land and being more sustainable. But, I think that this podcast, from where we're both standing right here, is probably taking a different direction than even the way it's marketed, like the way that the Liberty Bell, people think, it's politics, but you go back to the foundations of our country and they were homesteaders, they were farmers, they were hard workers. It wasn't constant, it was survival for them. And I think that the value of what spring meant to those people, they survived the winter, and you get into spring and it's a time for renewal. It's a time for regeneration, and that's what I'm looking for this spring for me and my family. We just canceled a trip to go to Florida, vacation in Florida every year for the past, 3 years, and we canceled a trip in Florida to go up in the mountains and go camping for a week, like just enjoying being away from people and the world and the news cycle and all the other mess. So, I think that's really what I want to talk about today is how exciting that is to have this time upcoming where just to really disconnect me personally. You've already done it, so I want to do it myself. In my business, I don't get to do that, and I'm excited.
Well, it is like a new time. I mean, this is the thing about whatever politics or whatever is that it's the end of the Trump era. And I think I definitely went through a feeling kind of bleak, about things in December and January. With all the lockdowns and everything, and just feeling like, what are we going to do now? What is going to happen now? It doesn't seem like things are getting better. It seems like things are getting worse anywhere you look. But I think it is good to have that recognition of like, it is a new time. And anytime there's a new cycle, there's always hope, because you don't know, and this is like a spiritual thing, like you don't know God's timing, like you don't know what's coming. So you always have to have faith and you always have to have hope. Because it might seem bleak, but darkest night before the dawn, that kind of thing. So,
well, that's it. We don't know what's upcoming, and we do know, according to Scripture, that life is we're going to face adversity. Life's probably going to not get much. It's not going to be milk and honey here on this earth. But this time we do have, rather than just sulking and how bad things look, when that sun starts peeking out and those flowers start to bloom and the warm air comes in and you can start getting outside more. You can start enjoying, nature and taking your family outside and working outside more. You can actually enjoy it instead of freezing. Taking that and taking hold of that. And that's what I've been guilty of. Last year, in North Carolina, we've got King Roy Cooper that, he shut things down. Like he really did. But I still had a ton of opportunities to get outside, and I didn't, like I should. Like I felt like that I was so engulfed in the news cycle that I didn't get off my back porch much last year. And that's why I wanted to, for me, I told you, fishing is for me, fly fishing that's where I clear my mind. That's where I think. You can't hold your cell phone standing in the middle of a creek. There's obstacles that get you where you're going. I mean, living in these mountains, we're looking at the creek beside your house, and that Freestone Creek it's not easy to navigate. It's not something that you get in and you just willy-nilly just walk through. Like I think what's so cool that I like about and enjoy about it, and it helps me clear my mind, is you have to navigate, you have to plan, you have to sit and watch. You don't just take off and jump in the creek and when you get where you're going and you catch that fish, like it's like, oh man, like I've done something. You've accomplished and achieved something. And I feel like that I didn't utilize that last year like I should. And so why I'm so fired up is all of last spring and all of last summer I didn't go fishing once.
Wow.
And that's not who I am. Like, I mean, there was a time I went multiple times a week, and so like I'm like, you know what? I wasted so much time. I didn't get off that back porch, get outside, enjoy what God's given us, this creation that He's made, because I was so caught up in I can't let go of the news cycle. I got to get something new to talk about next week on the podcast. I got to do this, and honestly, I think that's why this thing didn't go more than 9 episodes, last year, because it was just like, I think we agreed with what we were talking about, but it was just so, there was a lot of wear and tear with that involved.
Well, I think chasing the news cycle, it's just like an addiction, it's like,
it is.
It burns you out, and it's like you constantly chasing the dragon, trying to find the next thing to get outraged about.
Yeah.
And
that certainly happened a lot.
Well, I mean, to be fair, in 2020, there's no shortage of stuff to be outraged about.
But I feel like Liberty Bell 2020 is exactly what it needed to be. But 2021 is a new beginning. And, I don't care. Joe Biden's the president. Kamala Harris is vice president. I don't like it. I don't agree with them. But it is what it is. And I almost feel like that some of the Trump era stuff sucked me in to a point. Because, some of the stuff he did there at the end, I don't really care for him anymore. And, that will get some backlash if anybody listens to this. But, I was like, I preached for 4 years about not being so allegiant to Donald Trump. And I saw at the end, I was right. Like, there were certain things he did I did not agree with. And I feel like the election was rigged. I feel like that there was wrong done. But, at the end of the day, I think that they were turning into politicians, and that's the type of stuff that becomes that addiction, is being allegiant to. I'm so aligned with this person rather than I'm an individual. That's the beauty of America, is being an individual, and having my little boy, I'm like, wow, it got real fast. Like, I don't want him to grow up and spend his whole life worried about all this stuff. Like, I just want him to realize he's an individual and he can do what he wants to do. And as long as people are standing in the fray fighting for that right, that's the key there, is like, I don't have to be completely and solely engulfed in politics, but I need to be dedicated to standing on truth.
Yeah.
And so that's my challenge for myself this spring is, get outside more, stay outside more, spend more time with my family. Spend more time off my phone. Spend more time off the iPad. Just focus on me and growing myself spiritually, enjoying my family and what God's given me.
I think it's a good time to kind of hunker down and turn in and I mean, I think of the whole Trump experience of those 4 years. To me, it was just, and the way it ended is, it just proved to me that the basic course that America's been on for the last 10, 20, 30 years is just, it's kind of like a freight train, and there's no stopping it,
Yeah.
Trump was like an opportunity to turn things around. It didn't work.
I feel like it slowed the train down a little bit, and it got people off that train that needed to get off of the train.
That's for sure.
But the train's still going.
Still going.
We're standing at the station, but the train is actually going faster.
So the way I look at it is like, the train's going to keep going, but there's a little bit of time before it's going to show up to your doorstep. So now is a time to like get strong. Now is a time to like, stop just consuming news and all this stuff, and focus on building yourself and your family and your property and all your life, so that when it does come to your doorstep, you're prepared for it. Because there will come a day when it will be necessary to fight that fight again.
Right.
But for now, it's like, I think I just think that even the most fervent Trump supporters, I just see a general. I don't think people are really strong enough to fight that fight. I think a lot of people expected Trump to just do it for them.
Yeah.
And not really realize that when things really, really come to a head, people are going to have to be a lot stronger than they realize.
And he won't be standing in front of your door blocking people from kicking it down. I mean, that's the thing. Nothing against him. It's just that's the reality of it. It was the reality of it a year ago when he was still, blazing trails. Mm-hmm. But here we are now, and that was my thing. It's like, all right, so this may go into kind of another thing we want to talk about, but just like, the dependence on this system. Like I feel like, especially the area we live in a kind of a granola, crunchy, hippie kind of area. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people come here to find themselves, and it's just we live in an odd place, and that's fine. In some sense, but you've got people that come here and they come from hedge fund families, and they're living up, they're living in a cardboard shack on the side of a mountain somewhere, and people like me who have came from farm stock and working the land for years, I'm a sissy compared to my grandparents. And I'm these rich kids, they're living up in the mountains, eating honeysuckle and just doing crazy stuff. And here I am. I think of myself as this resourceful, strong person because I've watched my grandparents can food for years, and I've worked out in the fields and compared done stuff like that
to the honeysuckle people.
And compared to the honeysuckle people, like they're choosing to live like off the land. I mean, and you would just have to be from this area to know what I mean, or maybe you're from San Francisco and you understand. But I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, it's just like I'm like, I have those resources, and I saw, the preparation, and that's kind of what it is. It's like, this is not a prepper podcast, but it's definitely like come to my mind of like, I need to be more prepared, because I say all the time, I want my son to be prepared. I want him to, I don't know what he'll have to face. I don't know what he'll have to go through. And I said this a couple weeks ago when we were talking. I don't know that I can get through certain things.
Yeah.
And so, I've got these resources. I've got these opportunities to raise livestock and prepare better for myself and do more, even if it's just to save on my grocery bill. The satisfaction of, raising some chickens, or the satisfaction of raising some beef, or raising a garden. It's huge. There's huge benefits. And the honeysuckle hippies, they get it.
Yeah.
Now, they don't do it the way I would do it.
Right, but they get
what I'm getting at. So in this area, this area we live in, people want to buy land. They want to provide for themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's been the people that aren't from where I'm from, in the farming communities, they're coming in, they want a piece of it. And I feel like that's what we're seeing in the culture, is we're seeing certain people that are like, you know what? I want to provide more for myself. I want to, some people that, I wouldn't give a chance to they live off their land. They provide for their families. They do things to not be so reliant on this system. And then I feel like you've got definitely even some older people. I used to just say these, a lot of the younger generation, but really there's not an age group. It's just a group of people in our culture that they're so dependent on the system that, I mean, if a grocery store shuts down for a day because of a water leak, they are losing their mind. And it's like, what happens when something really bad happens? Right. What happens when, we had the toilet paper shortage last year and people lost their minds? Well, I grew up with grandparents that they grew up hard, and so they always bought extra. Yeah. And, I never had toilet paper shortage, but there were people that were literally like fighting over toilet paper.
I remember. And that occurred to me last year when that all started, that because I always kind of had I was always kind of like biased against the preppers, and I always kind of thought, oh, that's just paranoia, you know. But when the paper towel or the toilet paper shortage happened, I just kind of realized that, it's not necessarily paranoia to be a prepper. Like, there's just a kind of an element to life and being a man where it's like, you ought to be prepared.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And things can happen quick. And it's like, it's not like you have to live in fear. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
And there are people for sure who are like that.
Yeah.
And they're like consumed with fear and they're obsessed about it and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, it's silly not to be prepared. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's like sleeping with a gun next to your bed. It's like, it's not because you think someone's going to break into your house every night.
Yeah.
It's that it's dumb not to be prepared.
Right.
It's dumb. It's like, or locking your car when you're in a parking lot. It's not, you're not assuming somebody's going to try to steal your car, but it's dumb to not even take a small precaution.
Right.
It's easy to keep a little extra food around the house. It's easy to have a little garden. And these are things that we should develop as men and develop these kind of skills so that we're more prepared for chaos in the world.
But there's a pick and choose culture out there too. Like, I'll do certain things. I'll prepare in certain ways, but in others I won't. Or I'll lock my doors because it's a smart thing to do, but it's wrong for you to have a gun to protect. Maybe that assailant, he doesn't want to just rob you. He wants to harm you.
Yeah.
Like, just being in that mindset. And a guy, John Lovell.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Warrior Poets
back in your YouTube days.
Oh, yeah.
He's one guy that his videos are a little bit past my, I'm like, all right, I don't know if I'm going to get into a freeway shootout, where I need, 3 AR-15s.
Well, he's like an ex door kicker.
And this
guy's like, his mind is trained to think about threats.
Yeah. But watching his material, learning from him, he's not a peddler of chaos. Like he's like not trying to incite chaos.
Yeah,
he's just trying
reasonable.
This is a good way to be prepared, and that's helped me. I mean, and especially my plans with my future businesses endeavors and things and stuff like that. That's maybe will be upcoming. That's helped me. But that's what I appreciate about him is it's not like, hey, the world's about to end. You need to get a gun or you're gonna die. Like it's like reasonable. Yeah. And I think that's the thing with what I'm endeavoring to do. I really want to get, I've told you about the cow share plan. My family's been in beef forever. I guess as long as you can go back in my family line, my family's been raising cattle, and the traditional way of doing that is just not there anymore. It's gotten to the point where it's easier just to go to Ingles.
Yeah.
And so for everybody. And so for me, I want to go back and redo that. I want to get that going again. And part of it is out of preparation. Part of it is if it gets bad, I want to know that I have a source of meat.
Yeah.
I want to know that I have a way to furnish and provide, food, put food on the table for my family. And because I don't know what's going to be asking me. But that's all. I feel like that all those thoughts, wanting my wife and I with our house, we want to sell our house because we want to get into a place where we can have more. We can, we can have, beehive. We can have some chickens. We can have some cattle. We can have those types of things. We've got family land, and I'm sure I could do that. But wherever we end up, we want different than what we have because I feel like what we have is, if I needed to go out in the yard and plant a garden, I could, but that's about it. And I want to be able to be more sustainable. I want to be more reliant on myself, not just the local grocery store. And, it's just funny. Even when you grow up with those examples, like I said to my grandparents, I still find myself so reliant on the system, so reliant on, the grocery store. I'll leave your house and it would not dawn on me that anything I need would be unavailable on my way home. Yeah. And I hate that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that way.
We don't know any different.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
Well, and I mean, I feel like my grandparents, they enjoy certain things of modern, certain modern convenience, but if something happens and they can't, their phone doesn't work, it's just, my mama will drive over to the house and say, hey, our phone's not working.
Yeah. It's fine. It's totally fine.
You get a Gen X, is that the new generation?
Gen Z.
You get
Zoomers.
You get a Zoomer with their phone off, and it's bad news. I mean, shoot, my phone, if it's down, I'm behind. I'm not doing what I need to do. So, not being so reliant, trying to be more resilient with what's upcoming. I mean, because it's inevitable. Something's going to happen. I mean, society doesn't continue with, all the success it's had and just happened. It's never happened.
If there's anything we learned last year, it's that things can happen so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And they can go on before you have any ideas even coming.
And they can go on a lot longer than you plan on.
Yeah.
I was thinking, this will be a few months. Nope. Yeah. And I remember being panicked. I remember the panic. And you know what? It'll be harder for me to get panicked next time. Because it's just, it's like, you know what? The government. It's the government.
Yeah.
But I'm just excited for spring. I'm excited to get out there. I've already made plans to get out that first weekend of April, and trout season opens up here in North Carolina the 3rd of April, that Saturday. And I might have to elbow people to get to the creek, but I'm going to, just to go have that experience. And I'm so excited about that. And getting out, getting the garden ready. In May, we typically get our hay. We farm, basically we're hay farmers these days.
Yeah.
So in May we get our fertilizer out and start tending to the fields and stuff. And I'm excited about that because it's time outside and time working with my family.
Yeah.
The best experiences I've had in my life were spending time, especially with my grandparents, working outside, and I want my son to grow up with that.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
It's good stuff.
Well, these are good directions.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm excited.
And I think preparing for an uncertain future is the thing. And to me, I think, it's one thing thinking about, economic collapse or something like that. Like one day you wake up and all of a sudden, like the supply chain's broken and all the food's gone out of the stores within a week and something like that. But then there's also things like, there are, I think, red lines coming, like lines in the sand coming. And this is something I've been thinking about. Like, one, Second Amendment, it's like with this administration in, it's only a matter of time before they try to advance some kind of major infringement of Second Amendment, and it's like, is that going to be a line in the sand? Like I have a friend who's very seriously talked about leaving the country because he's very worried about what's going on.
Interesting.
Like he's like done, like after the inauguration, he was like, I'm just going to get out of here, because I don't want to be here when what is coming happens, And
not to interject, but what's coming here is happening
it's
everywhere.
It's going to come everywhere.
Well, no. It's happening pretty much everywhere else in the world. Well,
that's the thing. It's
no offense to your friend, but
it is a thing of like,
you're not friends with Whoopi Goldberg, are you?
I hope not. I don't think I am.
Okay, sorry. She was one of those that was going to Canada.
But I was thinking about, I was like, well, what's the red line? Like what's the line at which, you won't cross that line? And for him, it's like real gun control. It's like when they take the guns, I can't stay here anymore.
That is an interesting perspective.
And I'm like, okay, so, and I've been thinking about this because like there's a lot of lines like that could be coming our way. For me, my line is like when my children are forced to go to public school.
Yeah.
When they make it illegal
to homeschool.
I'm like, that's when I'm going to be ready to take a life or give a life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Not leave the country and just give. No offense to your friend, but you know what I mean? Like that to me, that's not the American way. Running away from the problem is not the American way. The American way is when it gets to the point where I will not take any more. Yeah. I will let you know in force. Me and all my redneck cousins from way up in the mountains of North Carolina, we will run down on you, and that's the American spirit. Where is that line?
Yeah, and I think
this is getting me fired up here.
Well, good, good. See, I thought about this when the Capitol thing happened, and I thought about this a lot.
Oh, you mean the staged Antifa infiltration?
Whatever you want to call it. I thought about this a lot in the last couple years. All this politics has been heating up, and when all this stuff was going on last summer with the rioting, and I was like, why isn't anybody standing up to this? I've been thinking, like, when is the line going to be crossed where people are like, we're not going to take this anymore. We are prepared to give our lives or take lives. Yeah. And when I saw the Capitol thing, I know there's all this like question about like, was it set up? Was it staged? Some of it was real people who really wanted to storm the Capitol.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So So, but I was I was watching it that day, and when it first started happening, I mean, there's definitely like a deep American part of me that was like happy to see that, that was like, yes, like when they
burn Nancy Pelosi's desk.
I was like, yes, but then, I kind of took a step back and I looked at it and I'm like, the problem with this is that none of those people were, I don't believe, truly prepared to take lives or to lose their lives.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to do something like that, you better be really prepared.
You have a plan.
I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly right. I was like, are you people willing? Do you really have the willpower to go in there and like break into the chamber and round up Nancy Pelosi and march her out on the steps? Are you prepared to do that? Because I don't think you are.
No.
I don't see that kind of willpower because that line hadn't been crossed.
That was
yet,
it, but it was a child. That to me is why I believe it was staged. Is that that's textbook Antifa right there, like not having a plan. And I'll give my wife credit for that. That's something she pointed out. Is like, she said,
I don't know, man. I think it's just that people don't have a plan.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when the American
I think there's no real leadership.
There's not.
And there's no real plan.
Because they lost, the conservative people lost their leader.
Yeah.
And now it's grasping at straws for something. I don't agree with doing that. Unless, that's the thing. If it gets where it's, it's illegal to have school at home, that's one thing to drag a Nancy Pelosi out by her ankles.
Yeah.
But, are we like inciting violence by doing this podcast?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely
it's one thing to act. It's one thing to act when that line is crossed. But you're exactly right. There's no leadership, and there's no line being drawn. Yep. And it's because of years and years of yellow back, lazy, ignorant conservatives. Mm-hmm. Let me say that one more time.
Yeah.
Yellow back, lazy, ignorant conservatives that have not stood up because they were handed everything.
I know,
by their dad that stormed at 18 years old.
Yeah,
experienced D-Day. Literally ended the largest war our world has ever seen.
Yeah.
At 18 years old with a bunch of other 18-year-olds, and literally was part of the greatest generation. That generation handed everything to a generation that did not instill anything in their kids. And then here we are today.
Yeah.
Like, here we are living in this world where it was lazy people that should have been standing on truth and should have been standing on what is right and wrong and should have been showing their children the right path, the right way to handle things. But the conservative people are some of the most greedy, stingy people.
Yeah.
And it is because of that greed that it's all been about making money. It's turned capitalism into this industrial system where nobody can make any kind of true living. No one can progress. It's turned capitalism into a bad thing. It's turned the industrial system into a bad thing. And we blame liberals for it. But it is lazy people that are Republican conservatives and is lazy people that go to churches and look down on the rest of the world that have caused this to happen.
Yeah.
And then here we are. We're trying to pick the pieces up for our kids. Mm-hmm. And, it's like that's the thing. That's why there's no line in the sand. That's why there's no leadership.
Yeah.
Is because who do we follow? And everybody has a voice. Any two dudes like us can just get a podcast.
And we're all compromised anyway. Yeah. By our own, we're all spoiled.
Yeah.
We're all addicted to our phones. We're all reliant on the grocery store being stocked with everything you could ever want. We're soft.
Yeah.
We're all soft. Yeah. Even with a leader, we're soft.
Yep.
So
we let the leader speak for the whole group. We let the leader gets all the responsibility.
So it definitely, this goes back to this theme of it's time to get stronger.
Yeah.
Turn away from watching what's going on outside so much. And because strength is not going to come from, watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's going to come from having your own, your mind, having your own time to think your own thoughts, having your own time for your own spiritual life, your prayer life, and focusing on building real skills, real tangible skills
Yeah.
in the world and making economies more resilient. This is the thing I love about, you talking about, raising cattle or whatever. It's like all those kind of occupations are great to do because anything that serves both functions of like, one, it can be a profitable business, but two, in the event of disaster, it functions as, like actually being able to provide resources for your family and your community.
That's a twofold business.
Those are the kind of things we need to be focused on. You know?
Yeah. Well, the mindset is just make money.
Yeah.
It is easier to become a millionaire and become wealthy in today's society than it ever has been through internet. But you take that away. I tell people this, and just imagine, take away the internet.
I see YouTube ads all the time.
These kids that play Minecraft.
Yeah, right.
I don't have anything against Minecraft.
Right, no, but I know
I've
what you
enjoyed
mean.
it when it was new. Back
Yeah.
before it was so cool with all these Zoomers. But when I was in high school, it was just a thing. Kids make millions.
Yeah.
People my age make millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to play video games on the internet.
Yeah.
And they play. I saw one thing. This guy he had like a 72-hour straight playthrough.
Yeah.
There would be no way. And I'm a gamer. I love games, but like I play like 1 hour a week.
Right.
Maybe not that anymore.
I see ads on YouTube all the time now that are like a guy, on his computer with a beanie on, and he's like, "Hey, I just made $3,000 on my Amazon store this morning. Let me show you how." And I'm like,
and it always you have to spend money on his Amazon store to find out how to make money.
And it's like people have, they're making thousands of dollars a day with some, ad set up on Amazon with some dumb thing. And I'm like, what are you going to do when things get tough?
Yeah.
Take away the computer. You got no skills. You're sitting there with your beanie.
And you have a beanie on. I mean, that to me is number one.
And your espresso machine. And it's like, what are you going to eat? Like, how are you going to deal with real problems? And, it's like, those guys have no real skills. No. This is not what we need.
No.
Right now.
And so to say that, there's this article I read about this old movie. And it was like filmed in the 30s or something. And it was set in England in the beginning. And basically, the butler falls in love with the lady of the house, and so she wouldn't have him because he's a butler, you're a butler, but he grew up out in the sticks, like he's a redneck Englishman, and he knew how to do everything. He could hunt, he could fish, he could just do whatever he needed to do to survive. He was husbandry, taking care of the animals and all that stuff. And so they go out and they get on this ship, and they're it was a Gilligan's Island situation. They wreck. And, he becomes king of the island very quickly. Yeah. Because, the lady of the house, she didn't know what to do. She's like, oh, well, the butler brings me my food. Yeah. And he's like planting stuff and building stuff and killing stuff and fishing stuff. Like his skills, it put him at the top. Like that's what I feel like is coming is like, and I told my wife, like she didn't understand marrying into a family, we're not ranchers by any means, but my family, we've got a farm. And I told her, I said, the thing that you need to understand about when things get bad is we're the first people that the people, nothing against city people, but we're the first people that people in the cities come looking for. Right. We need food. We need this. We need that. Yeah. Because, and then we're the first people that they're going to try to steal from. Because it's like, oh, you've got the abundance. But it's the people that know how to survive, the people that know how to raise things, the people that know how to prepare. I'm not a hunter by any means, but I could probably learn and figure it out. There's some people that don't even have a basis of understanding of any of that stuff. And it's funny how, the Wall Street elites and the Silicon Valley people and the kids in beanies playing video games on the internet, it's funny how it flips. The resilient people, the resourceful people, they become the top of the food chain. And it always has felt like in my lifetime that I've always been at the bottom. I'm just the bottom guy on the totem pole, just making it paycheck to paycheck. But, in a moment, I could be tasked with providing for my community. and I want to be prepared for that. I want to
that's very true.
because that's what it comes
Yeah,
to is
true.
the people that have, if you have land, it's going to be up to you to farm, and it's going to be up to you to farm, to provide for your neighbors and take care of those people, and individually, it's going to be asked of individuals to use less, to live more. I mean, my great grandmother washed her aluminum foil. I mean, my goodness, like that's the kind of world she grew up in. Today, we don't think anything of throwing good stuff away.
Yeah.
I mean, we're wasteful people as a society. And in a minute, it'd be like that movie where those that truly know who are resourceful, those who know how to survive, they'll make it. The honeysuckle hippies, I hate to say it, but they're going to be doing good. And it's just
that's a funny. I mean, you and I talk a lot about how the divide between left and right is kind of like a misconception, because really what's happening is it's a divide between like rural and urban, and that's really how things are going.
Yeah.
And I think I notice in this where we live, like there is overlap. People who are like really, 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 really left, like the honeysuckle hippie people. There's more overlap with those people than with some like city dwelling quote unquote conservatives.
Yeah.
Because those people at least have the right mentality of like they're trying to
and you can
gain
talk to
independence.
those people.
Right.
Literally, I mean, in our job or the job we used to work with me at, like we talk to people, and those people you can talk to them.
Yeah.
Like they find out you're a conservative, they don't look down on you.
Right.
I mean, half the conservatives that live in the city would look at me and think, "Oh, this poor guy."
Yeah.
Like, they would look down on me because of the way I choose to live.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some guys today. They manage a huge homeowners association locally that has its own golf course right in the middle of it. And so they're, these guys they're big deal. Conservatives, no doubt. But, sitting there talking, I had nothing in common with them. Like they literally got onto a homeowner for cutting down a tree. And I'm like, what is this? Is this England? What is this? Like colonial days, or like, I feel a revolution coming on. Like I might move into your subdivision just to start it. Because it just feels wrong. Like, and these people they think like me. There's air quotes out here, guys, but they think like me, but they're not like me. And you're exactly right that there's this rural divide, there's a city divide. You go back to the Civil War, that was a huge thing. Industrialism, individualism. I'm not even going to get into the whole Civil War thing, but there was, especially in these communities like we live in, where there wasn't a lot of slaveholding, there wasn't anything like that, any big plantations. There was an individualism mindset and there was an industrial mindset. That was the divide in the Civil War, a part of the divide. And then you look at it today, and we're back in that same point. There's this reliance, this need for reliance on the government, and then there's this individualism mindset. That's like, what? That's why I disagree with your friend about wanting to move out of the country, is because you go ahead and move out of the country. Go live in Brazil. Go live in Argentina. Go live in, wherever. They live in trash. And we have something that I'm willing to die for. I would rather die here and know that I tried to fight to preserve something right and good for my children than move to another country and live a halfway decent life knowing that I'm not even going to get into that. But it's not right to just throw down what we have here.
Well, I think what's going to happen is I think the industrial mindset and the individualist mindset. I think these things are on a course of total segregation, and I think this is what the COVID thing is going to finally bring into like full fruition. Is I think you're going to have, let's say, an urban world, a whole segregated reality that's going to be, industrial food chains and big corporations and all this stuff, and it's going to be like a world that you can't get into unless you have your vaccination card.
Yeah.
Your children have been through woke camp.
The Coke woke camp.
You've been through Coke woke. You get your annual woke seminars to make sure you're like programmed correctly. And when you have all those credentials, then you'll be allowed to participate in that system.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be outside of it, you're going to be all the way outside of it. Like
yeah.
you're not going to be able to participate in the banking system.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to participate in any of that stuff. And you really are going to have to live off the land. And so those of us who are in that reality, we're going to have the strength and the resilience to actually be able to have our own local economics.
How much do you want to bet that they'll try to build a wall around the cities?
That's totally possible. They're going to build that wall.
Build those walls.
Build that wall.
Yeah, man, that really, that is so good though to have the conversation about, because it's so, like, it to me, it's not politics that takes us there. It's this cultural decline. It's complacent conservatives. It's wild left liberals. It's this whole mixture of all this stuff that gets to this point where these individuals want to just survive. They just want to have success. They just want to live. And really, I've never been more aligned with just, you know what? I mean, I've always been aligned with small government, but I'm more like, you know what? They need to get out of our affairs more than anything, and just let the communities decide. Let the states decide for themselves, and let us be individuals. Let us choose what we want to be, and that's where you start to see the line drawn. And I mean, that's what happens in civil wars. That's what happens in these conflicts. But what's happening here is you find, like you said, these urban areas, they're going to continue to fill up with people who are not willing to be individuals. They're going to fill up with people who just want to. I mean, we see it in this area. Yeah. We say we live in the mountains of Western North Carolina, and you can go from the north end of the mountains to the south end of the mountains of Western North Carolina, and I will guarantee you, you'll find somebody that is moving here from somewhere else to get away from the craziness.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And this is a liberal area.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, it is a liberal area, but even the liberals that are coming here now, I feel like they're like, I got to get away from it. Like they're starting to realize and see, you know what, this stuff I've been buying into for years, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, to me, I'm like, I don't have faith in the Republicans anymore. I don't have faith in the political system much anymore. Yeah. But I'm starting to see that I'm going to have to rely on myself. First and foremost, God. Don't get me wrong. But if I'm going to survive, I myself am going to have to rebuild and revitalize who I am and be more prepared for what's upcoming. That's what I'm going to figure out this spring.
Yeah. That's what we're all going to have to figure out. That's exciting. Yeah, I think there's two people right now. There's people who are waking up, and there's people who are basically soft to the point where they're willing to compromise and lay down and kneel to whatever they have to in order to be comfortable. Yeah. And that divide is only going to increase because the woke world order is going to demand further and further and further. They're going to keep demanding, and people, the softer the people are, the more they're going to just be like, okay, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
But that's it right there. You pay this price. Okay, I want, we hear rights, we hear women's rights, gay rights, this right, that right. And people have they want rights. They want equal rights to do and act the way they want to act, live the way they want to live. People want to be able to do heroin with no consequences. People want to be able to, have abortions with no consequences. And they want these rights. And they're willing to sell their soul for these rights because the moment that a vaccine that is untested comes out, who's first in line? The people that march wanting these rights. The moment that mandated woke camps come out, who's the first people in line? The people that I want equal rights for everybody. They can't think for themselves because they're selling their souls to buy in and get what they think culture is going to provide for them. And what it ends up happening is that they get to this position and they've been these pawns to get votes for these political people. And then they're left in the dumps. They're inside those walls we're talking about. And this may sound crazy to people, but I am serious. This kind of crap happens and it's up. I mean, it's on its way. Look at a lot of the South American countries. Look at the Middle East. You go to the Middle East, there's chaos in the cities. And you go out in the rural areas and you find these people that are just trying to survive. Yeah, I mean, it's just I feel like that there's just this mindset of let's all converge, let's all get together. We can live in convenience. We don't have to have a vehicle. We don't need anything. We don't even need sunshine. We'll just we'll do this. We'll get a salt rock lamp in the house and we'll be okay. Like, I mean, that's the stuff these people are buying, and they're selling their souls to be able to to be able to get these rights that they want to have. When really, we have rights as Americans. I don't agree with the way people believe certain things, but we have rights as Americans to do what we want.
Yeah.
And, alternative lifestyles that I may not agree with. I mean, these people have rights to do it. But don't, be that person out waving the flag of equal rights for whatever your cause is. And then when I don't want a vaccine or I don't want to send my kids to public school, don't look down on me.
Yeah.
Because why don't I have equal rights? And it comes back to the fact I believe in individualism. I believe in American exceptionalism. I believe in God. I believe in my right to choose the way that I want my life to go. I don't want to just conform to whatever the government says. I want to worship the way I want to worship. I want to go to the church I want to go to. I don't want to be mandated to have to worship and believe a certain way. And it scares people to death because all they think is freedom. But they don't understand what freedom truly is.
But they don't really want freedom.
But that's what they say. They want equal rights. They want rights. But it's not true freedom.
What they really want.
They sell their soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
That's good stuff, man.
It is.
Well,
let's take a second. None of this comes from looking at news.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm proud of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff, man. I mean, do you have anything else you want to talk about? We're right about an hour.
You want to wrap up for a few minutes with concealed carry?
Let's talk about that because I just, after months and months and months of process, I finally got my concealed carry permit. Okay.
Months and months of process because
because
of the state government or the county government?
Because of the county government.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I took the class back in June.
Okay.
I think. And it took from June to September to even get an appointment.
Do you think that was possibly because COVID?
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't because it took me 3 months in 2017 to go get my concealed carry permit in our county. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
So, and then it took from September to 2 weeks ago to actually get the permit.
Yeah.
But anyways, I got it now.
It's ridiculous. It now. Okay. You can carry concealed.
I can carry concealed. I'm good to go. So I've been shopping. Okay.
Yes.
Initially, I was looking at the Shield.
Which is a fine Smith & Wesson American-made product.
A perfectly fine machine. But after doing some shooting, my new favorite is the Sig P365.
Okay.
And I just kind of fell in love with it, shooting it at the range. But then I started doing my homework on it, and it seems like it kind of tops people's lists consistently. That and the Hellcat. The P365 and the Hellcat seem to be like consistently tied for people's favorite subcompact concealed carry.
Is that it? Just with a sight?
Yeah.
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 I like it. I've never actually fired one. I've handled, I felt, held a few of them. My thing with, I don't know what kind of, ammo capacity they have, but
there's it's a 10 round, and then they make
a +1.
They make a +1 for it.
So my thing that kind of edges the Hellcat is, I'm not nothing against anybody here, but the Hellcat's, it's a lady gun.
Okay.
I mean,
but it's called a Hellcat.
They try to market it to where men buy it, but it's really it's a petite gun. It's easier. The slide's a little easier to pull. You've got like a 22 round capacity. If you have to fire at someone 22 times, like you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Like if you discharge your firearm I would say probably more than 3 or 4 times, like you're probably not. They're probably going to say, all right, should we give this person their concealed carry permit back? Like, you have to understand people want high capacity right now, but to me, like, you're better off with a 10+1. I mean, you're like me, have bigger hands.
Yeah.
The 10+1 is going to be fine. You've got that, that extra mag capacity.
What's that high capacity thing all about? Why do people want that? They just want to be able to bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, I said it was a lady gun. I feel like that the new demographic purchasing firearms, there's a lot of ladies out there, which I'm very proud of. And let me say this. the thing I appreciate about ladies getting into concealed carry is that they will go through training. They will learn the right way to carry a gun. 9 times out of 10, they're better shots than men. 9 times out of 10, they handle themselves better in a situation. But I feel like that's being marketed because, these ladies are coming into this, this game and they hear, oh, you can hold 20-something rounds. Yeah. And they just jump on it. Or 16 rounds or 17. I mean, I've held one. I really liked it, but you're looking at $600. I don't know what you're looking at on a Sig.
$500.
Okay. I mean, it's up there with my Shield. I mean, I have the almighty top dog, in my opinion, Smith & Wesson Shield 45. Yeah. I mean, it's a hand cannon. And to me, the accuracy, you've shot it. I mean, that's why, what it feels like. You know how it fires. You know the recoil with a 45. To me, I can only hold 7 rounds. But if I need 7 rounds to either scare someone off or take somebody down with a 45 caliber handgun, I probably don't need to be carrying a gun. Yeah, so 22 rounds is excessive. For a gun that's not a target gun, you're just getting a bulkier grip. And here's my thing. I don't know about the Sig, but this is why I feel like the Shield, and I mean, I haven't said it a lot on our podcast, but you know how I feel about Glock generally.
Oh yeah.
Glock, yeah, you've heard. Glock has a subcompact out now, and it's the 42, Glock 42, that's the 380, and the Glock 43, which is a 9mm. And what I have found in concealed carry, and I'm a bigger guy, so, I mean, I carry a full-size 9mm, like a duty gun, like an on-duty military and police, and that full-size 9mm Smith & Wesson. I carry it in my waistband, generally. And it's comfortable. All day it's comfortable. But I'm leaning towards the subcompact range like you are. My Shield 45, it's right there in the middle. Yeah. What I would recommend and say to someone researching, wanting to buy, I would look, especially, a lot of people don't like it. I like the way that the Glock 42, the Glock 43, and all the Smith & Wesson Shields, I like how they have a slimmer backstrap and handle, because when you're concealing that gun, it conceals better, and just handling the gun is easier. That's one thing I always hated. But the only reason I didn't like Glock is because they, like I showed you downstairs, it felt like holding a 2x4 in your hand. Yeah. And so as long as that Sig offers, a comfortable grip, I say the Hellcat, it's got that 22 double stack 22 round or 16 round, 17 round mag. That makes it that gives it a bulky handle. Yeah. And when you're a bigger guy, or you're somebody who really you're out and about all the time and you really want to conceal that gun, to me that just doesn't do it. So that 10+1, that's a generous amount, especially in a subcompact. 9mm, you can't go wrong. You'll always get ammo for it. You're doing good with a Sig P365. Another thing is, as long as you get it for a good price. Yeah. Some places are twice the regular price for a handgun right now. Yeah.
No, I've seen it right around 500 everywhere I've looked. And I'm kind of seeing if I can wait around long enough to find a deal or something.
I mean, I read every monthly issue of Guns and Ammo, handguns. I watch YouTube constantly, and I'm not that familiar with the Sig 365. Yeah. So not that I'm end all be all, but I'm wondering where their marketing is, because I mean, I can't think of when I've read an article on one recently. So that's where I'm at. I don't know that much about it from a distance. I've held them. I like them. I think they're good built guns. If I'm not mistaken, the Marines just recently signed a deal with them for them to be their offhand firearm. So they got good things up and coming. I mean, but I'm not that familiar with them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say you could buy 2 Taurus G3Cs for $500. Almost guarantee you. Or maybe the G2C. Yeah. Taurus, that's another thing people don't think about is, look at some of these more budget-based concealed carry handguns. Taurus has got a good handgun out there. They got a 10+1 9mm. It's not a subcompact. It's a compact. There's a company out there called Sky. SCCY. I mean, you're looking at the $200 to $250 to $350 range.
Do they hold up
for a good gun?
Are they going to crap out at 2,000 rounds?
I would put my faith more in the Taurus. from some. I don't know how true it is, but from some of the reports I heard, and actually looking at the gun, you will see this to be true if you're a Smith & Wesson guy. I'm sorry, I've got to start branching out a little bit, but you'll hear me mention Glock in a minute. But Taurus, from what I heard, Taurus bought all of Smith & Wesson's mechanical.
Oh, you told me
tooling.
about that. That's cool.
And yeah, so they bought all their mechanical tooling, and so you see a lot of similarities. They're built on some of the same machines. From what I've been told by a gun distributor, is that they're built on the same machines as Smith always was years ago, and that even a lot of Glock parts will interchange with the Taurus. So my brother just bought one. He likes it. I love it. I've tried to buy it from him every time I've seen him. But, Taurus is a good option. From all the reviews, everything I've read, people I've talked to that's had them recently, they've held up well. And you've only got, it's a gun that, not that you want a firearm stolen, but it's one of those that it's not your $600 Glock that's getting stolen out of your car.
Nice.
Good deal.
That's good info, man.
More to come.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us.
Good deal.
You got to get home.
I got to get home. See that kid.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. And at some point, we'll do another episode.
Don't know when. We're just willy-nilly these days.
Yeah.
First time in months.
Hopefully, it'll be more than 9 months or whatever.
Our goal we talked about, and this would be my goal, is like, if not every 2 weeks, at least once a month.
Yeah. Just kind of check in.
For now.
See where the world's at and what we can do about it.
Good deal.
Right?
Right.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.